Well, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this evening for Mind the Gap, a quick guide to overcoming your school's learning loss. My name is Dawn, and I will be taking you through the webinar this afternoon. And all of strategies and resources I'll be sharing are found in the resource document, which is in the chat box in the webinar control panel. And our behind the scenes expert there is Robin, and she's going to be putting out some polls occasionally, and she'll answer any tech questions that you might have throughout the webinar. Hey, Robin, how's it going?
Hi, everybody. Doing well. Excited for the webinar.
Awesome. Thanks, Robin. Well, we are going to get started by sharing our sponsor for this webinar, Blue Apple Projects. Equip your teachers with authentic learning projects that engage students, teach the content they need to teach, all while making the world a better place. They contain everything that a teacher needs to make project-based learning come to life in their classroom. And we'll be talking a little bit more about Blue Apple Projects near the end of the webinar. But you can go ahead and take a look at Blue Apple Projects at blueappleteacher.org. So today we're going to focus on three main areas. I'm going to share some tips to help you plan for learning loss this fall. Also going to share some ideas to help you prioritize the social and emotional needs for your school. And then finally, I'm going to end the webinar with how can you set your teachers up for success to really prepare them for overcoming learning loss. But before we dive into that, Robin's going to open up a poll. I'd love to know who is on the line tonight. Robin, give them a few seconds to answer. You know, what grade level do you serve in your building? And then go ahead and share those results, Robin, when they're done coming in.
All right, a couple more seconds here. All right, so actually, Dawn, this is the first time we've ever seen this, but we have 100% elementary, K-5.
All right, okay. Well, regardless of the grade level that you teach, we are going to be sharing some tools, or excuse me, the teachers you serve. We're going to be sharing some tools and strategies that work across all grade levels of students and teachers. So thank you so much for being with us today. All right, I'm going to follow that poll up with another question specifically on learning loss. So Robin's going to open that up. And so approximately what percentage of your planning for this year will be devoted to learning loss? So take a rough guess on where you're at. And Robin, when those are done coming in, go ahead and you can share those results for us.
All right. So looks like it's split pretty evenly. So we have 0 to 20% is at 33%. 21 to 40% has 33%, and then 61 to 80% has 33%.
Okay, all right. So a little bit over the board, but regardless, that's everyone here tonight that's on this call or watching the recording at home is going to have to deal with learning loss in some capacity and plan for it. So let's just lay it all out on the table here. Learning loss, those words separately, harmless. You put them together and sometimes warning can be a bad word, right? Learning loss. Well, the reason why we're using learning loss tonight and to discuss that is because that comes right from the legislation, from the American Rescue Plan, which the ESSER funding has come out of. And right in their language, they use the term learning loss. So they are instructing schools to reserve at least 20% of those funds to address learning loss through evidence-based interventions that respond to students' social, emotional, academic needs, and also address the impact of COVID-19 on underrepresented student subgroups as well. So we're going to use that term learning loss, whether you use unfinished learning, instructional loss, instructional gaps. We know that there are gaps and we know that there is learning loss. But I just wanted to put a little bit of rose-colored glasses on for a minute. This was a tweet that we found a few months ago, and you know, even though there was academic loss, if we look at it a little bit more positive perspective, there was definitely learning over this time period. But my 5th grade daughter can cook herself 3 meals a day, responsibly logs in remotely for her education, and has technology skills beyond anything I can comprehend. These are life skills that the past year created. So a little positive spin on that. But we do know that there are academic or instructional gaps and losses that we need to address as a school. So how do we bridge those gaps? How do we bridge those gaps for our students, and how do we support our teachers to help our students move to where they need to be? So I'm going to start off with planning for learning loss. I'm going to share with you 5 tips to consider as you're starting this new school year. And the first one is just really a mindset shift. You know, thinking about this as an opportunity. There's really no one person or group to blame. This is an outcome of a pandemic. And so many people, administrators, schools are in the same boat. So think about this as a time to rethink, refocus, and reimagine what education can be like at your school. Secondly, focus on quality of core instruction. Remediation can be very helpful and beneficial, but it's not the complete answer. It's not the key to remediating learning loss, right? You need to focus on grade level quality core curriculum, because when you pull those students out to reteach them, they're going to be missing out on that grade level content. So really making sure that everybody, all of your students, have access to engaging, high quality work that's authentic, that's connected, where your content is continually being revisited. So it's not that learn it, test it, forget it cycle. And a great way to do that is through authentic project-based learning. And also consider thinking about those out of school opportunities that you provide for your students, such as summer school. So maybe many of you are coming out of summer school right now, or maybe you're thinking about providing summer school programs in the future, but really think about how you can accelerate learning through those programs. How can you provide engaging, authentic experiences using your quality core instruction? And also considering your after school programs, if you have them or if you're considering them. Looking for opportunities to really help with those learning losses, those gaps, to get the students to where they need to be. The third tip to help you plan for learning loss is to really look at your data. What is the data that you're collecting? You want to make sure it's clear and actionable, but you also don't want it to be redundant or overlap. So take a stock of all the assessments you do at the various grade levels. And if there are any overlaps, get rid of them, because you really want to focus more on that process, that using that assessment to inform instruction rather than that development of all these different tools and assessments. And as we know, standards-based testing, interim tests, diagnostic tools are a great snapshot of where maybe a student is at that point in time, but it's not the complete answer. It's not what's going on with the student at fully, completely. So to really understand what's happening with the student completely, you need to go to the source, you need to go to the teacher, you need information from the classroom level. So really elevating that importance of formative assessment. Formative assessment is going to help the teachers identify gaps in learning, and they can share that information with you as well. So make sure that your teachers are trained up on best formative assessment practices. And I've shared with you some formative assessment strategies, some very easy, very quick checks that teachers can do, and some a little bit more comprehensive, where they can get some quantitative data that not only can inform their instruction, but also can share with you so you know what's going on at the classroom level. So the key is to spend less time on the development of those large-scale, high-stakes assessments, but finding more meaningful ways to assess at the classroom level. And remember to ask your teachers. So we put together a resource. Again, this is in that hyperdoc that's in the chat box for you to really let your teachers provide some observations, some reflections on learning loss that they saw last year, or possibly maybe things that they're already experiencing this year with this new group of students coming into their class. Where are those areas of learning loss that they're experiencing, that they're seeing, and have them use that information in their PLC groups, in their grade level groups, as they plan out the rest of the school year. Again, this resource is in that hyperdoc. And lastly, we need to figure out what is the most important thing to teach. Identifying those power standards, right? We know that there are so many standards, more standards than a teacher can possibly get to in a year. So really identifying what are the ones that are most important. So use your data, use the data from you get from the teachers at the classroom level, use your district assessments, and really identify what is the most important to teach in the classroom. Use that in your PLCs to plan for the school year. So we put together a resource here, the standard scoring sheet for K-8 that we've identified. We've taken actually all the standards for the main content areas, so math, science, social studies, ELA, and we've put them in spreadsheets based upon the grade level, and we scored them based on 3 different criteria or categories. So the categories we chose were building blocks, so how much future learning builds off the standard. Is it multidisciplinary? So how applicable is this standard across content areas? And where is it on its level of thinking, on that Bloom's taxonomy? Is it more from the recall, or is it more in that creation level? And we scored it between a 1 and a 5. And so what happens is that the scores are all tallied, and then you go to a different tab to get the report, and then you can see those power standards. What are those top standards, those that rise to the top that you want to focus on this school year? Now, this is completely customizable, so you can change those scoring categories to fit your school improvement goals. Maybe you want to consider adding in a column for learning loss as well as you're planning for this school year. But again, this is in that HyperDoc. Feel free to share that with your teachers as they're getting in their PLCs or their grade level work this school year. So I shared with you some different tips or ideas to consider as you're planning for learning loss. I'm curious, which of these might you use as you're planning this fall? Are you going to focus on quality core instruction, collect clear and actionable data, elevate formative assessment, or use those power standards to plan? And you can pick more than one. So Robin, when those are done and come in, I'm going to share that out.
Yeah, we'll give it a couple more seconds here. They're still coming in.
Sure.
All right. So for focus on quality core instruction, we have 100%. Collect clear and actionable data, 60%.
Okay.
Elevate formative assessment, 40%, and use power standards at 60%.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, we're going to also look at different ways that you can support your teachers and your students at the end of the webinar, which focus on all those different areas that you just responded to. So thank you very much for that. And let's take a look now at social emotional learning, prioritizing social and emotional learning this school year. So I came across this in social media, and I think it really says it all. If a child can do advanced math, speak 3 languages, receive top grades, but can't manage their emotions, practice conflict resolution, or handle stress, none of the other stuff is really going to matter. So we could put all of these supports in place to bridge that gap for our students, using that funding we have and providing all these supports. But if we haven't addressed the social emotional needs, all of those efforts could be for naught. So making sure that we are prioritizing those needs, not only for our students, but also for our teachers, is so incredibly important. So I'd like you to take just a couple of seconds and think about this, or ask yourself this question. How are your teachers? How are they doing? As they're coming into the school year, how are they? How did they leave last year? We know that this school year was probably the most stressful school year of their professional career. And according to this RAND report that was put out in February, stress is the top reason teachers leave the teaching profession. That was before the pandemic. And if we know that the pandemic has caused the teacher stress levels to skyrocket, the bottom line is we need to take care of our teachers. We need to invest in our teachers. So I'm going to share with you just some quick tips that are reminders, things that you probably already do, but they have huge dividends. They make a huge difference in the social and emotional awareness and needs of your teachers. First is find those opportunities to celebrate and affirm your staff. Maybe there's shout outs at staff meetings. Great time to do that. Maybe they're just personal thank you notes or post-its put in their mailboxes or left on their classroom door for other people to see. You put it on your calendar, so making sure you're getting to every teacher in a certain amount of time. Rethink those staff meetings. any housekeeping items, try to do those in maybe an email or possibly do a video to send out to your staff, and then turn those staff meeting times into more collaborative or PD focused opportunities. Our teachers are the experts, so ask them, ask for their input, survey your staff on their observations about learning loss or your school improvement goals or their mental well-being or how their students are doing in the class. Be there. It is so powerful. An administrator is at a professional development with their teachers. The teachers feel valued. They feel that this is not only important to you about the content, but also important that they're there. You value their time as well. And turn your conversations into coaching. Find opportunities to talk to your teachers to really help mediate that thinking for them, because you are the coach. And I like this. I stole this from an administrator, Jerry Brooks. He's all over Facebook and YouTube, and he gives all of his teachers a light switch at the beginning of the year. And that light switch is just a physical reminder for teachers to turn off their educator brain when they need to. So giving them permission to turn it off. So I think that's just a great idea, just a physical reminder to have it on a teacher's desk to remember, hey, you know what? It's okay if I turn off my educational brain here for the next couple of hours. And lastly, equip your teachers. Provide them with the training and resources to really support their well-being. And so we put together some strategies to do just that. And this is something you might want to share at one of your first staff meetings this school year. It's just strategies to help them avoid burnout, to decrease their stress and increase their productivity. And make sure you're also taking your own advice. It's so important for you as well to do that too. So I shared with you some ways to meet your staff's social and emotional needs. Which of those will you do or consider doing as you start the school year? You can check as many as you want. Robin, just let us know where we're at. Done.
Thank you. All right. So it looks like at the top at 75%, we have Celebrate and Affirm, Rethink Meetings, and Equip Your Teachers. And then both at 50%, we have Be There and You Are the Coach.
Fantastic. Excellent. Okay. So I asked you to ask yourself, how are your teachers? Now let's ask ourselves, how are your students? So how are your students as they left the school last year and as they're coming into your school this year? We know that this has been an incredibly stressful time for our students. And in this report, with numbers from the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, found that during April and October of 2020, that our elementary students, 24% increase in the number of emergency room visits due to a mental health crisis. And for our secondary students, it was a 31% increase. So we know so many of our students had struggled during this time, and they're going to come to us struggling as well. And most experts agree that the effects of the pandemic on students are likely to be felt for years to come. So how can we equip our teachers? How can we make sure that the social and emotional needs of our students are met, that they're given the skills to address that in the classroom? One way to do that is to provide your teachers with a framework. This is the CASTLE framework, and they, as you see the center there, we've got those core competencies: self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. And this is an incredible opportunity for teachers to use these competencies and put this seamlessly into their instruction, whether they teach kindergarten or 12th grade AP calculus. This can be done in a seamless way. And so we have provided resources to do just that. And I just want to share with you just a couple of examples for each of these. So self-awareness, having your students respond to prompts in a reflection journal. Self-management, have them set SMART goals. For responsible decision-making, have them reflect on their decisions. For relationship skills, or building that community, working together, establishing those positive classroom connection rituals, which is so important at the beginning of the year. And that social awareness piece, engage students in projects that matter, like project-based learning. And so these examples and others are found in this resource as well, which is in the hyperdoc. So again, this is something you could share at one of your beginning staff meetings this fall. And the last question I want you to ask yourself is, how is your school? How is your school on the road to social emotional learning implementation? And Castle published a roadmap, which is a great tool to really identify where are you at along that roadmap, where do you want to be, and what are those resources that you need to get there. Okay, so we talked about planning for learning loss. We talked about social emotional learning and how to really prioritize that for both your students and your staff. Now let's end the webinar with how can we set our teachers up for success to prepare for learning loss this fall. So it all starts with professional development. Not just PD, but flexible and customized PD. PD where the teachers have choice, that matters to them. They know what it is that they need. It honors their profession. It builds that capacity. But we don't want to just stop with professional development. We need to also make sure that our teachers have those resources to put what they learned at that PD into practice in their classroom. It's going to ensure implementation, it's going to model best practices, and it's going to ultimately save your teacher time. And if you want to really make sure that this gets implemented in the classroom, not just this school year, but for years to come, want to make sure they're also providing our teachers with ongoing support. Maybe it's a coach that they can reach out to, or a group, or a PLC group, where they can ask questions and really make this happen for them. It's going to ensure that accountability and the efficacy, and it's going to maximize that PD investment. So let's start off with professional development, that foundational learning. Well, we need to identify your core key content areas. And one way to do that is we've put together a survey, a needs analysis survey. It takes 5 minutes, it's really quick. And what we'll do with that information is we'll create this customized needs analysis report. It's completely free. Even if you don't use us for professional development, we want you to have this tool, this resource, as you plan for fall. Now, if you really want to get the information from your teachers, what are their different choices or preferences for their PD needs, you can send them out this survey as well, which we have in that hyperdoc. And we can take all that information from them as well and put together this report too for you to help you identify those key content areas to address learning loss this school year. Just want to share with you just some examples of key content areas we've identified to address learning loss, just to give you a little bit of context. So you can see we have our immersive workshops. These are that foundational learning that where we'd have a 6 hours, very immersive instruction in different topics, as you see here: equity, inquiry, social emotional learning, and project-based learning. But we don't stop there. We want to continue those conversations to build that support throughout the school year. So every month after that foundational workshop, we would have a 1-hour learning session on different topics to really support that foundational learning from the immersive workshop. And then you also want to make sure that you're measuring success through using learning objectives, making sure this is evidence-based, that the professional development your teachers are getting is making a difference. And we do this with all our PDs. We do a pre and post survey so we can see the growth of that teacher from that professional development session. So you build that foundation of professional development. Now you have to provide your teachers with those instructional resources to really get that implemented into their classroom. So I wanted to share with you from some of those key content areas we identified. Social emotional learning. We went over this before, but here's just some specific examples of some resources within that you can share with your teachers. Project-based learning, authentic learning to really engage your students, to bridge those gaps and to make that more cross-curricular. You can provide them with our Blue Apple projects or our virtual PBL units. In our Blue Apple projects, we provide everything that a teacher needs to make this happen in their classroom. So providing them with that foundational PBL training But then that project, how powerful is that? Now they have not only the pedagogy of best practices for PBL, now they have the supports to make this happen. Inquiry-based learning, another key content area to help address learning loss. We have some resources for inquiry-based science lessons, K-12 science lessons, inquiry-based science model, strategies. Again, you can share these with your teachers. And all of these resources, again, are in that hyperdoc. Differentiated learning, another key content area. So we have a webinar where teachers can watch 3 ways to differentiate. We've also provided other strategies and alternative assessments to really meet the needs of all their learners this school year. So we started with that foundational professional development. Then we had those instructional resources. Now the last piece here is that ongoing support. And one way that we get to that is through our coaching. So every professional development engagement, we have teachers fill out this document. What are their coaching requests? What are they needing help with? And we continue that conversation long after that PD workshop or session. We also want our teachers to leave with an action plan, something that they're going to take away, they're going to put in action, hopefully right away, or at least fairly soon. And again, it's keeping that conversation going and making sure that they have the support that they need. And finally, another great opportunity for teachers is to let them see inquiry in action. So we provide these student field trips. These are inquiry-based science field trips. Well, one of our inquiry experts will come in and engage the students in one of these investigations. We could do this virtually in person. And not only is the teacher able to now see best practices and inquiry in action with their own students, they're also able to do maybe some science that they haven't been able to do because the focus has maybe been somewhere else because of the pandemic and things had to get cut or moved around. So this is just an example learning loss recovery plan using those kind of 3 ways to set your teachers up for success by starting with that flexible and customized PD, providing them with those instructional resources, and also giving them that ongoing support. Now this plan and all the other information about the learning loss is found on our website there. You can see the link there. It's also in that hyperdoc as well. So for more information, please be sure to take a look at that and check that out. So if you'd like to get more information about how to really even go beyond learning loss, take a look at this admin guide, and I have the link there. It's also in the hyperdoc as well, but it's a great tool, gives you just more research, more data, and more ways to really look at learning loss and how you can overcome that and move beyond that this school year. Okay, this is my favorite part, is this giveaway. So we have a form which is going to go in the chat box. It should be there.
Yep, just put it in there.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Robin. Oops, sorry about that. So what Lunch and Learns are is that we will provide a free lunch for up to 20 teachers at your school. And then with that, the learn part is that we will also provide a 45-minute virtual learning session on a topic of your choice during that lunch. We will pick one winner. So if you're watching this as a recording, you still have an opportunity to get your name on that form, and we will draw that individual a week from today. So please be sure to put your name. It's real simple, first name, last name, and then how you want to be contacted, and we will draw that a week from today. And then we have one last poll. So these are a few of the free resources or admins that I shared. One was the needs analysis survey for admins to really identify those key content areas for professional development. And then we had the needs analysis survey for teachers to poll them to see what their needs are for professional development. And then we also have these lunch and learns to bring your staff together on a topic of your choice. Which of these free tools do you think would be valuable to you? And check all of them that apply. So Robin, when it's all set.
All right, we're all set. People want to use all of these free tools, which is great. But 100% said the lunch and learn. And then the needs analysis for admins and teachers were both at 50%.
Okay, fantastic, excellent. Well, make sure that you do get your name in for that lunch and learn. Definitely, awesome. And lastly, I wanted to share with you this webinar discount. Whether you are watching this live, again, or if you're in the recording, if you book any of our professional development, purchase Blue Apple projects, or field trips by December 31st, you will get 20% off. And it all starts with that free needs analysis. Again, you can see that survey there. And remember that even if you complete that needs analysis and we provide you with a report, that tool is for you, right? So even if you decide to use us as for PD or not, that is for you to help you plan this school year. And if you haven't been told today, thank you so much for everything that you do for your students, for your staff, your school, and your community. You all rock. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Bye, everyone.